And welcome back to Stories from the River. This is your host, Charlie Malouf, and I got a handful of topics. I'm going to run through them pretty quickly, but we're going to talk about how we did on our 95-day challenge that ran August 29th through December 1st. We're going to talk about where we are relative to our goals for 2025, our pursuit of $272 million, our revenue goal for this year. We'll give some individual shout outs for folks who excelled on the 95-day challenge and newly minted $1 million memory makers or freshly minted $2 million memory makers. And we'll talk about, really some exciting new store openings. We just pulled forward the Easley, South Carolina, what we like to call the Easley Express. And everyone wants to know how our Spokane, Washington store is coming along. And also a new announcement in the Inland Northwest. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Stories from the River.
Welcome to Stories from the River, a show in which we go behind the scenes at Broad River Retail.
Hey there, podcast fans. Welcome back to Stories from the River. Hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday season. And I saw an acronym, BFCM, Black Friday, Cyber Monday weekend, and big holiday sales. It was a big week for us. It was like one of our top 10 weeks ever. We did like a little bit over 9.1 million in sales, and teams were crushing it. Our memory makers were all in and dialed in, and so it was a lot of fun. Always fun when you can set some records and hit new sales per guest goals and things of that nature. I'm recording this on Friday, December 5th, and so where are we right now? So we have completed our 95-day challenge, which we've talked about here on Stories from the River, which began right after our Pioneering the Path, a Purpose 828 experience. So right after August 28th, we started that Friday, August 29th, going into Labor Day weekend, and we ran that all the way through the rest of September, fiscal October, and through November, a big November with Veterans Day, and then, of course, the Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Cyber Monday holiday week. And so 95 days, we got off to a really fast start with that 95-day challenge. We crushed September. We dipped back down in October and couldn't quite claw it all the way back in November. So we came about 3% short of our goal. Our goal was $80 million for the 95-day challenge. And we got about 77.7 towards that. So the good news is our operations team and sales support team have figured out a way to really get a lot of product delivered fast. So supply chain operations, home delivery operations, customer experience, sales support. They're digging through the open orders, the backlog, and they're cranking out products. So I love that. And we've adapted to, throughout that, we had a little bit more price adjustment that we had to work through there at the end of September and early October, and continued along our path. So, we're a little bit disappointed that we didn't hit the goal. However, that goal was all in support of our annual goal, which was $272 million. And I'm excited to say that we are well on track. We're actually going to deliver probably a little bit more for the year than we've written. So we're squeezing down that backlog, and it looks like we're right on track. I believe we're going to crush it. We've added, a few Mondays to the mix. So, our fiscal week, as we've shared on this podcast over the years, ends on a Monday. And so December 1st was our last day of our Moneyball month for fiscal November. We delivered that day to make good for the shortened week, the holiday week. And then 2 weeks later on, Monday, what is it? The 15th. I want to make sure that I get that right. We are also delivering that day, to make sure that we get all the extra sales written throughout the holiday week delivered. And then the last day of our fiscal year is Monday, December 29th. And we've added that Monday. So kudos to our operations teams and our home delivery teams, because they really want to crank out the product. And for our guests and for our commissioned memory makers and for our delivery teams. And so, that's a shortened week. Let's see, we're closed 4 days throughout the year. We're closed on Easter Sunday. We're closed on Thanksgiving Day, Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day. Regardless if those Christmas Eve or Christmas Day is on a Saturday or Sunday. We close for those 2 days just to give our people a respite and a break. Retail's hard, to be open that many days, but our teams have really wanted to go after the goals. So the good news is we are on pace to hit 272 million for the year. We just got to crank it through a little bit more. The retail team is not giving up on 272 either from a written perspective. We have written sales and delivered sales, and the goal is measured off of delivered sales, but the retail team is like, hey, we're going to go make good on what we kind of left out of the 95-day challenge and go make it up here in December. So they're locked in. We've had so many more $1 million memory makers cross, and those are like my favorite calls, whether it's like Sunday night or Saturday night or whatever it is. It's a congratulatory call. I want to hear about, how it went down, the sale that put them over, because that's always fun to listen to. And was it a return guest? Was it someone who was just coming in for a table and you sold them a mattress? Did they know that they're going to put you over, or did you just tell them afterwards? Those are really fun calls. I always like to kind of explore and unpack, like, hey, how have the tariffs impacted you this year? How is our pricing alignment with Project Omni Connect worked? That's been a big win. Everyone always comments about that. They're so gracious. They're so humble. They're so appreciative, which, is great to hear. But then I always want to understand, like, what more can we do? And I get some great feedback. It could be something like a facility thing that we need to work on, or it could be something, hey, a retirement savings thing, or hey, give us a 20-year goal, so because we don't ever want to leave, but we're mapping out like our future. And so I love those type of conversations. I love financial planning conversations in general. So those are a lot of fun. So many $1 million memory makers have crossed. We're getting close to 80. I think we're going to get $100 million memory makers for the year, which will be a record here at the River. So super, super exciting to see kind of team achievements, to see, individual achievements, and people just going after their goals. And so where I was going with that is I'm going to provide a little bit of the secret sauce for what we've had for the last several years. What used to be kind of a maybe a month to rest and recover is now a month to like, hey, I want to go get after my last run on my goal for the year, because we have jackpot bonuses and there's cliffs that kind of, you can go after 1 million, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 5, 1.6, 1.8, 2 million. By the way, sidebar, Iron Mike Cohen, congratulations. He just crossed the $2 million threshold right there with I think on Tuesday he did. I'm recording this on Friday, December 5th. So earlier this week on Tuesday the 2nd. So 11 months in one day, he got $2 million in for the year, which is outstanding. He's been crushing it all year. And so, hey, that gets him a new car for 2026. He'll see Manny Rodriguez about that. And gets them a massive jackpot bonus. So we have jackpot bonuses around number of credit apps that you get for the year. That's a big one. You write yourself a big check for those. Sleep revenues that you get for the year, and total revenues that you get as long as you have within the safe zone of the sauce. So they're going after their annual goals, their jackpot bonuses, but a lot of them are going after their expert status. Like, hey, I'm working on this for my expert status. So in stores are going after their own. GMs are going after their jackpot goals as well. So December has really become a strong month because we've got these cliffs, these 6-month markers at the end of June, end of December, on either semi-annual or annual cliffs and jackpot bonuses and goals. And so there's really no let up. They're attacking their goals because they're goal-driven, goal-minded, and it's very meaningful. Going back to the 95-day challenge, one of the gaps that we've really got to kind of work on is sleep. Sleep was a delta for us, and we're just still, it's relative, right? Relative to like 15 years ago, the numbers are great. Relative to like what our goals are and our expectations are, they're still falling a little bit short. So the delta there in the 95-day challenge, which we knew was going to be the most challenging part, was the sleep revenues and the sleep goal. So that's where we are on the 95-day challenge. That's where we are on our path to 272. Why is 272 important? 272 is year one of our 6-year plan that we mapped out for our path to 2030 to grow 12% compounded annually to double the company's sales in 6 years. By the rule of 72, 72 divided by 6 requires a 12% compounded annual growth rate. We like to call that acronym CAGR. You may have heard that, CAGR. So to go from roughly 250 million to 500 million by 2030. We're going to have a lot more about that as we take you kind of behind the scenes and a new refocused Stories from the River next year. As we're wrapping up and getting towards the end here of season 4. Can you believe it? We're over 300 episodes, and that was a trivia that we had with our leadership team the other day. How many episodes have we had at Stories from the River? I actually got that wrong. I don't know why. It's just kind of blanked. I got all the other trivia questions mostly right, so I did win that trivia. Will, Luke, thank you. That was a fun game that we had. Nice icebreaker we had throughout the day on our leadership offsite. We had a lot going on in November. We had a leadership team dinner on November 11th, a full day leadership team meeting. But today's episode, now that I've rambled long enough, we had an express situation. We had a compressed express situation. So we've gotten in the habit of remodeling stores, but also in the habit of opening new stores and doing it in a compressed timeline. And so why am I calling it express? Well, our 34th store opened before Thanksgiving, the Easley Express down there between Greenville and Anderson, South Carolina. So this store was not in our budget going into 2025. We didn't have this on our roadmap per se. Now it's a market that we had looked at for many years, but we didn't have a site or knew where we wanted to go. So this kind of happened quickly. Early in the year, after the year had begun, we identified the site, the target location. We began negotiating with the landlord, got the lease done. Then the landlord had to kind of complete their work. We had to go through, architectural work, design work, with Ashley Corporate and their design team, and then, kind of go through the lease negotiations, which are always kind of fun, with the attorneys and everything, and then kind of get to work, select our GC and our general contractor and kind of go to work on getting this store built or remodeled. And so it was a former bargain hunt. I believe we've talked about it. And so it was really going to be in the plans for maybe at the end of this year or early 2026. And just a big shout out to our construction team, our facilities team, Manny and Tim Sales, and then merchandising, visual impact, the Vibe Collective, visual impact, visual insights and brand experience, from Lynn and her team, Lynn Knowles and Shelby Hill and Cameron Piersanti and Karen Ohar and the showroom execution team with Janet Limekuhler. So everyone kind of chipped in and we got it done. So to pull that forward, the Friday before Black Friday, actually, they more than tripled their sales in 10-day run there for fiscal November. So we gave them a modest budget and they crushed it. And so the store is beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's about 45,000 square feet, give or take. And it's a 2-in-1 store. So it's an Ashley store plus outlet or Ashley store and outlet. So it's got the outlet experience. It's got a beautiful sleep shop, sleep gallery, and a beautiful showroom right there in Easley, South Carolina. And so we're just so encouraged by what that store is going to do for us for 2026 and beyond. And so we've got a great team there led by John Russo and Nakia Amadi and Braun Clark on the leadership team there. And so we've got a great team. Madison's come over from Greenville to help. And then several new hires, new home furnishings associates who I got the pleasure to meet. And they're doing a fabulous job. They're busy. There's a lot of customers coming in. The testament to kind of pull a store forward, and say, listen, this could kind of help us get our 2025 goals. Can we all kind of rally around it? And it wasn't like the easiest yes, really, because the team has really been focused and locked in on what we thought was going to be store 34 in Spokane, Washington. Now that store's still on track. We're flying people, every day. I think Lynn Knowles is leaving this morning to go out to Spokane, but the store setup's been taking place. We've been receiving trucks. We started rolling our first trucks on Monday, I believe, this week, in Sunday or Monday of this week in Spokane. So we got the certificate of occupancy. We're loading up the store. We got our distribution center ready, and so Spokane is getting set up. And it's going to take a little bit longer to receive it's 3 floors, and so it's a big mattress gallery. But that'll still happen, and that's actually going to happen earlier as well. That'll happen, we think, on December 19th, 2 weeks from when I'm recording this, which will be a little bit before Christmas. And so Melanie Pratt, Derek is over there helping, and we got a great leadership team that we've hired there. I'll save Spokane for a little bit later, but so we've got that going on. But this one was for Easley Express and in the West region with Chris Wright and his leadership. And he's just done a fabulous job guiding, directing, leading the West region. And so, from Western North Carolina through the upstate of South Carolina, and all those products are delivered through our Spartan Ridge Distribution Center, which was DC number 3. But now we've got DC number 4 in Spokane coming, the Spokane Steelheads. So the Spartan Ridge Bruins were DC 3, and they're helping us get more product delivered out into the Easley Express. Going back to the 95-day challenge, we did have some elite performances. And so it's worth recognizing those stores who really, really crushed it, and those leaders. In the number 3 spot for the 95-day challenge, Dave Morocco and the Wolf Pack, the Matthews outlet, did a fabulous job. And watch out for the Wolf Pack, because nobody raises more money per capita for St. Jude and for our private events than the Wolf Pack. They are just excellent at that. In the number 2 spot, Sonia de la Cruz and the Hickory Strong. She and that team are putting Hickory back on the map, and they are doing a fabulous job. And then in the number 1 spot for the 95-day challenge, brand new GM to the river, and you've seen him on this podcast and some of the episodes we've had, Seth Logue and the Gastonia Game Changers. All gas, no brakes. The gas house is in effect, so they really crushed it, doing an outstanding job. Okay, but also in the sleep category. So in the number 3 spot for sleep, Casey Boswell and the Emerald Wave crushed it, coming in at number 3. Best sleep shop in Greenwood, South Carolina, in Greenwood County. And then in the number 2 spot, just mentioned his name, the guy who loves to live in the sleep shop, in the sleep gallery, and everyone gets a comfort test, Seth Logue and the aforementioned Gastonia Game Changers. They're changing the way that Gaston County sleeps in a good way. A gas station that sells sleep. Not too bad. That's pretty nice. And coming in at the top spot, the best sleep shop in Stanley County, Bradley Sullivan, aka formerly known as Sully, but Bradley Sullivan and the fabulous Albemarle Aces, all about that VPO, which he taught at Pioneering the Path, the Purpose 828 experience. Vision, purpose, and ownership. One thing about the Albemarle Aces, they're setting records like you wouldn't believe. I think in the entire month of November, every single HFC wrote over $100,000. They're doubling and tripling up what that store did in year-over-year comparisons. And right now, they are tracking either number 1 or number 2 for the number 1 store in North America. Let me say that. The number 1 Ashley store in North America. So they're really locked in on bringing home that title to the river. So they're doing an outstanding job. So some great shout outs throughout the 95-day challenge. I might be remiss if I didn't kind of mention a few others here. You've got Nathan Jeter and the Lake. They came in number 4 overall. You got Mitch Dixon and the Rock Hill Raiders came in number 5. And the Rock, David Walters and the Rock, Luking Martinez and the Cary Crushers. Just some outstanding performances all around. Pinehurst Patriots. Demi and Rebecca, they've been leading that team and doing a fabulous job. And the Hype, Gabby Kobos and the Hype, they crushed it for the 95-day challenge. And Alexis Straffus, recently engaged, Alexis Straffus and the Augusta Annihilators, Vinny Culture, they did an outstanding job. So had a lot of teams that really crushed it, really got after it for the 95-day challenge. And collectively, our teams came together and said, hey, we've got the biggest project we've ever had out in Spokane, 2,500 miles away, but sure, we'll bring in another store and expedite that and express open it, because that'll just help us get our 2025 goals. And so when you're locked into a goal, it's not necessarily about how many resources you have. Constraints drive innovation and drive resourcefulness. And so the team just got resourceful and said, hey, what if we could open this store sooner and just have a little bit of, one of my favorite words, a little bit of lagniappe to add to help us make sure that we get 272. We've got all kinds of goals that we're going to achieve. And so if we hit $272 million for the year, there are 800 memory makers who are getting a nice profit sharing check in early January. And so we're super, super, super excited about that. And so a lot of exciting things going on for year one of our 6-year vision here. And getting Easley open early was an exciting event. And, and then I just had the chance, I just got back home from the Furniture Today Leadership Conference. It had been several years since I had attended, but I was asked to speak on a panel this past Wednesday. And it was in Palm Beach Gardens at PGA National, the event. So it was a beautiful place, sunny. It's a little bit sunnier than where I'm here in Charlotte, a little bit rainy and cold, but that's okay. But it was nice weather, and I got to go down and see my brother and his family, my nephews, and his wife down in Boca Raton for dinner, but also got to speak on a panel, and I got to reconnect with so many people in the industry that it's just great to kind of see. Many I haven't seen in several years, and so it's just a nice collaborative, just very friendly, kind industry, and just sharing and learning from each other. And so that was a great event. So Bill McLaughlin led a wonderful panel and had me on with 3 other amazing leaders, that we got to speak on. And so that was a great panel. And anyways, we're locked in. I know you guys all are. So, we got, one more town hall coming up later this month. We've got, maybe many of you guys are working on your Christmas bonuses. And we got Operation 'Tis the Season, which is wrapping up. And so we're getting gifts for, to support families for Operation 'Tis the Season, which is one of our favorite initiatives we have. Memory makers helping other memory makers, town halls, team dinners, holiday dinners together. And we've locked in our budget for 2026. We're ready to go. And then you may have just seen, we announced store number 36 in Moscow, Idaho, which will open in early 2026. And that's part of the kind of inland Northwest market. So you've got Spokane and now Moscow, Idaho. And so we're building out that market. So we're super excited about that new announcement, and it'll come shortly on the heels after we get the Spokane store up and running. So that's it for this episode here on Tuesday, December 9th from Stories from the River. We're coming down the final stretch run of season 4. Thank you so much for plugging in, for logging in, for engaging with our content. And it's our gift back to the industry, of which we have learned so much and gained so much, to take you behind the scenes on our journey here at Broad River Retail. And so we're just one company trying to make a difference, furnishing life's best memories for our memory makers, for the families of our memory makers, for the guests who we have the privilege to serve, for our partners, not our vendors, but for our partners within our industry, and for our communities and who we get to serve and give back to. And so we are just in the business of trying to furnish life's best memories. That's what being a purpose-minded, purpose-driven organization is all about. And so I think I've rambled long enough here for this episode. So wherever you get your fresh podcast content, whether it is YouTube or Apple or Spotify, do us a favor and subscribe or like or leave us a comment. Feel free to reach out. And thanks so much for joining us, and catch us every Tuesday and Thursday. We might change that schedule moving forward, but here to bring it into the end of season 4, every Tuesday and Thursday. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for listening to Stories from the River. To check out more episodes, visit storiesfromtheriver.com. To watch this episode, go to youtube.com/@storiesfromtheriver. Join us again next week, and remember to like, rate, and subscribe to the podcast.